Okay. Good morning and welcome to our daily devotional. We're trying this again because I had some technical problems on the first try. We're in the welcome. We're in the book of Genesis this week, particularly or specifically chapter 22 and verses 1 through 14. We're looking at verses 6, 7, and 8 from Genesis chapter 22 today. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son, and he took in his hand the fire and the knife. So they went both of them together. And Isaac said to his father Abraham, "My father." And he said, "Here am I, my son." He said, "Behold the fire and the wood, but where's the lamb for a burnt offering?" Abraham said, "God will provide himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son." So they went, both of them, together. Well, this is a story of faith, a story of trust. And we see here that both Abraham and Isaac display extraordinary trust. But it's important to remember when we read this passage that Abraham is not responding like a robot. Abraham's faith is real. It's a trusting. He trusts that God is going to fulfill God's promises, and so Abraham has earned this. Remember that in earlier chapters, he asked a lot of questions of God when God was said that he was going to destroy the city of Sodom. And so this time, though, Abraham does not ask questions and he moves forward as God has instructed him. And so does Isaac, by the way. I think it's important for us to remember in reading this passage that God meets us where we are, and that sometimes when things happen to us or we have disappointments or crises where things are at risk, it may be important for us to cry out to God. It's important for us to be where we are in that moment and not try to pretend that we're something else or somewhere else. Abraham is lifted up as this extraordinary example of faith precisely because he acts without having to reflect so much on what has happened, on what he's been asked to do. But we're in different places. All of us are in different places. And we need to recognize that. We need to recognize that we don't have to get all of our problems fixed before we can meet with God. We don't have to have all our relationships lined up, all of our attitude problems adjusted. We need to meet God where we are. And this is what Abraham does and sets the example for us. So I hope that you can remember this lesson for today. Let us close with a word of prayer. O God, whose spirit searcheth all things and whose love beareth all things, encourage us to draw near to thee in sincerity and in truth. Save us from a worship of the lips while our hearts are far away. Save us from the useless labor of attempting to conceal ourselves from thee, who searches the heart. Enable us to lay aside all those cloaks and disguises which we wear in the light of day, and here to bear ourselves with all our weakness, disease, and sin, naked to thy sight. Make us strong enough to hear the vision of the truth, and to have done with all falsehood, pretense, and hypocrisy, so that we may see things as they are and fear no more. Enable us to look upon the love which is born with us and the heart that suffers for us. Help us to acknowledge our dependence on the purity that abides our uncleanness, the patience that forgives our faithlessness, the truth that forbears all our falsity and compromise. And may we have the grace of gratitude and the desire to dedicate ourselves to thee. Amen. Thank you for joining me this morning for our daily devotional from Pilgrim Congregational Church. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.